more and more I'm finding out that I just don't have the patience to keep dealing with these people that will use the words of Christ in order to justify their hatred of the Jews and their hatred of the state of Israel. I just don't have patience for any of you. And they use verses like Revelation 3:9. Ooh, there are those who claim to be Jews, and yet they are not Jews, but they are of the synagogue of Satan. How dare you? How dare you, you shameful, shameful, wicked people that would twist the words of Jesus, the Jew, in order to justify your hatred of the Jews overall. You people make me sick, genuinely sick. And I have talked on this so many times, it's like do I even have the patience anymore to explain it once again? Revelation chapter 3, verse 9 is simply talking about how there are those who claim to be believers in God and claim to be those that belong to the house of God, as in they claim to be those that keep the commandments of God, and yet they don't. They're wicked people they're just hypocrites. So they don't belong to the synagogue of God, but they belong to the synagogue of Satan. Because in the first century, the term Jew was synonymous with somebody who claimed to be a believer in God and a keeper of his commandments. It is no different than saying there are those who claim to be Christians, claim to be followers of the Christ, and yet they are not Christians. They are not followers of the Christ. They don't belong to the church of God. They belong to the church of Satan because their actions are evil. And to such people, Jesus will say to them on Judgment Day, "Get lost, depart from me, I never knew you." That is all that Revelation 3:9 is talking about. That is it. That is it. It is only talking about how there are those who claim to be believers in God, claim to be righteous, claim to be followers of the truth, and yet they are not. Their deeds are evil. Their actions are evil. They claim to belong to the synagogue of God, but they don't. They belong to the synagogue of Satan. They claim to belong to the church of God, but they don't. They belong to the church of Satan. They claim to belong to the family, the house of God, but they don't. Because their deeds are evil, they belong to the family, the house of Satan. That is it. That is it. And so, in the words of Michael Jordan, stop it. Get some help.